Okay, what you're looking at is a picture of a video, a thumbnail of a video that I did about a month ago. And that was a still taken from the film Weapons. And I said when they're activated, you can go watch that. It's when the jabbed are activated, they will become zombies. Now, I wanted to take a little trip down memory lane, which was really not that long ago. We're going to time travel back to 2021 when they first started rolling out the jabs, the bioweapons. And one thing that has been kind of left out of the discussion, it was on the radar of other people early on, so-called experts who they rolled out to tell us about different things, different ingredients that were in the shots and whatnot. I think we all got, really, really tired of hearing all, it's this, it's that, it's the graphene, it's this, they deliberately put a lot of this poisonous stuff in these shots because they wanted to. Well, I think they partially wanted to confuse people. That was part of it. But one thing that kind of fell by the wayside, I think, it's my opinion, that they kind of have left out of the equation is let's go to this one. The discovery of finding. Now remember, we're going back to 2021, and they were talking about this then. Now it's really dropped off the radar, but they found, and this particular professor found, that there was a parasitic organism dubbed the Thing. Like there was an old film called The Thing, found in the COVID vaccines, and that really got scrubbed. That whole idea got scrubbed. I'm even surprised I found this article. But it has to do with some research done by this professor, Dr. Frank Zalewski. And he goes, that's why there's graphene added inside the vaccines, which nourishes the egg. What egg? The parasitic egg. Now, one thing I just found out today, and thanks, I have to give credit where credit is due, is Spudgy Pang. Spudgy Pang forementioned, he comes at it from a different angle, so, that's just, that's his prerogative, but he was analyzing this film, Weapons. Well, one thing he did mention that I didn't know in this film is that in the film they are saying what causes these people to become zombies is they have a parasite and it causes them to be zombies. Well, this is pretty interesting. I'll read a little bit from this article. Okay, I just read Dr. Frank Zalewski says that's why they're adding graphene. This was his interpretation back then. Why they're adding, he did analysis of the ingredients in the shot. He says it nourishes the eggs of the parasite. I believe that there are parasite creatures, and I'm going to show you some pictures that he took and he gave a lecture about back in 2021. And he said something like that is going to develop inside of you. Inside of who? Those that took the COVID shots. Many people may be aware by now the strange Hydra. Now, people might remember that. Dr. Carrie Madej was talking about that. And his Hydra-like parasite that was found in COVID vaccines by Dr. Carrie Madej. Yeah, I remember that. Carrie Madej has been an outspoken proponent against the vaccines. Okay, yeah, we know that too. She's kind of dropped off the radar. She even had a video. I guess I'll leave the link. You can go watch that video. But there was a very strange Hydra creature that she had identified. A parasite that may have been identified as Hydra vulgaris has been seen in the COVID vaccine. Okay. Dr. Frank Zalewski, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, claims to have found an aluminum carbon-based life form in the COVID vaccines. I believe it is a life form. I have some theories, and a lot of people probably will immediately right off the bat reject it because they don't believe in what I'm going to say. But let's just read on. He says he also presents several questions as to why they are only found in some vaccines. Some vaccines, he says, they could only find a saline solution. So, hey, right there, that might be there. Maybe not everybody got all the juice and got all the ingredients that they're putting in. Maybe they dodged a bullet if they got the saline. You know, there was a few years back. The amazing thing about all of this is if this all happened just within a few years, and it's almost like an eternity has passed. Everybody seems to have forgotten what was in these jabs. And they're kind of avoiding the subject. But I'm just bringing it up because I find it very interesting. Okay, Dr. Zalewski, it says, this poses a theory that a widespread legitimate parasite-infected vaccine would cause too many detrimental side effects all at once. Thus, would be quite alarming to the public. Oh, yeah. But they've only been telling us in the films what's coming. The zombies, their brains taken over. So, they're letting us know. And so the powers that be, the powers that shouldn't be, interspersed their investigational experimental parasite-laced vaccine with saline solutions in order to spare some from the detrimental implications of these side effects and deaths, but only to reintroduce it later with second shots and ongoing boosters. I could see that. That could be a very plausible explanation for why they want. It wasn't just a one shot. They wanted you to have one shot, just like from Mr. ETV's You Took the Mark of the Beast video I did. He said 1 shot, 2 shots, booster. Okay, so let's see. This is, of course, just a hypothesis, but seeing all the manipulation and gaslighting, yeah, there's been a heck of a lot of that. And enforcing the vaccine mandates. Remember, this is from 2021, this article. When it's not needed, the alternative reasons for health are getting fewer and fewer to justify. Okay. So now I found this other interesting, and somebody took pictures from Dr. Zalewski's lectures. I think there was a video. I think they scrubbed it from the internet. They don't want people freaking out. But it says here, that's why there's graphene added inside the vaccines. I think this is a plausible reason for why they are adding the vaccines. And it is food for these parasites. I missed this whole thing back in 2021. I wasn't paying attention to the reason for the graphene. I was learning about graphene, but I didn't realize the reason. Okay, so to me, that's a plausible reason. This person took a screenshot from his lecture. It says, something like that, the parasite, is going to develop inside of you. And this is what he was seeing. It's strange, alien-like creature developing within the bodies of those who were injected with the bioweapon. Hence, weapons, the weapons film. But let's go back to it. Many people may be aware now of the strange Hydra-like parasite that was found in the COVID vaccines. And I already mentioned Dr. Carrie Madej. It says, Dr. Frank Zalewski claims to have found an aluminum carbon-based life form in the COVID vaccines. But and then they're just repeating what I had read before. Some vaccines, he said, they could only find a saline solution. So it wasn't in all of them. They had to stagger it, with all the different batches and whatnot. There was that thing, what's in my batch? Okay, I'm going to read down here. Okay, so the vaccines did contain all sorts of questionable and outright horrific contents: graphene, nanomaterials, nanometals, polyethylene glycol, parasites, self-propelling creatures with tentacles. Now, I had seen a video, and I mentioned this to somebody else. I had seen a video about a nurse, and of course, that's been removed. It was a TikTok video of a nurse who saw a parasitic, tentacle-like creature within one of the jabbed individuals. Now, how do you explain that? Okay, it goes on to say synthetic fibers, synthetic self-assembling circular structures. A whole witch's brew of ingredients in those shots. Okay, this poses a theory that widespread legitimate parasite-infected vaccines would cause too many detrimental side effects all at once. Yeah, and thus would be quite alarming to the public, and so it appears that they decided, I'm just paraphrasing, not to do it all at once, because if they did, it would be mass pandemonium. Okay, but I have pictures of all these. Like the Alien films with the creatures with the tentacles bursting out of the people's chest cavities and things like that. But this is pretty interesting. Another thing I thought about too is there might even connect this to the whole alien agenda. And they will say these people were taken and hybridized by the aliens, and thus they have parasitic alien-like creatures growing in their bodies. That's a possibility. Nobody's really talking about that, so I will. Anyway, it says this, of course, is just a hypothesis. But I did find this very interesting that Dr. Zalewski had connected the graphene as being basically food for the parasites. Okay, so let's read these quotes from his video or his article. He said, this is from Dr. Zalewski. He said, the first sample that he took of the COVID shot, and he had analyzed it under a microscope. And here he's going, and here we see a hole because graphite tape used as a surface. I noticed a lot of crystals, and some so aggressive that even the graphite melted somewhat, and I thought I found something. Of course, I conducted tests, and it turned out to be salt. This fluid turned out to be the saline solution and nothing else inside, so I continued. So in the first sample, there was nothing found. Everything dried up, and even the salt couldn't be noticed anymore, so the composition of the fluid varies in these samples. Okay, so for his second sample, he found a lot of crystals, and here we can see the result. Now, Dr. Pierre, I forgot his name, a French scientist had mentioned that back from the 90s, had mentioned it had crystal nanoparticles in these shots, and he was saying this back in the 90s. Crystal nanoparticles. Now, something interesting about that too is I had gotten a word from God that there would be crystal nanoparticles in the mark of the beast. Take that for what it's worth. That is what I heard. This was before the COVID shot rollout. I had made a video about it somewhere. But it was crystal nanoparticles. Okay, so this is what Dr. Zalewski is finding. In the second sample, I found a lot of crystals. And here we see the results. These crystals consist of sodium and chloride. This is what we call regular cooking salt. So the fluid contains only a saline solution, but I was searching for something else. As always, I found something. This is what I found. He's labeling it the thing. Where's my marker? We need to write that something down with the big bold letters. He goes, I continued my studies and conducted tests, and what is that thing? It seems to have, this is his words, not my words. It seems to have a head and 3 legs. A head and 3 legs. Let's go back to that picture. Okay. A head and 3 legs. I conducted tests of the head, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and those are the results. It's aluminum and carbon, and they have said that the ingredients in these shots are carbon-based. So he goes, excuse me, I got my tool. So then he writes on the board. There he is. That's Dr. Zalewski, I guess back in 2021. He writes on the board, the thing. And he said, the faint-hearted ones may leave the room. No, without jokes. The results of the following tests. Oh, he's even he put up a photo of the film, The Thing, because they made a film called The Thing. And we know they do predictive programming through the media, through the films and whatnot. Okay, so the tests are aluminum bromide. It says reader corrects this term to mean boron and carbon. That means that something has its legs in different colors. Here we have the test results of the thing. And he holds a demonstration object. This is 1/10 of it. If the head here is 2 millimeters, then the legs are 25 millimeters. The head 2 millimeters, and the tape's 25 millimeters, like that. Okay, so he's holding the picture, and then goes, in this case, Zalewski carefully measured the thing and discovered a ratio of its head to its legs, which equals 1 to 125. Okay, so these are pictures that he took of ingredients in the shots and some of the vials. Now, remember he said some of the vials have just saline. He believes that the thing will grow and develop inside people's bodies. Now, how do we know that those white fibrous clots, this is just conjecture on my part, are not related to the thing that they have found growing in people's veins? I'm not going to say definitely, but I mean, that's pretty plausible. Those white fibrous clots that everybody saw or seen in, who was it? They were embalming and they were removing these clots. Well, were the clots part of the thing? It seems to have had a head and 3 legs. This is Dr. Zalewski talking. It hasn't been created to just sit there and do nothing. This is a life form. That's what he said. It grew and developed in 4 days. He asked the question, is this a plant? Dust? A bean? Given to people in eggs in a fertile, suitable environment? Yeah. The environment of the bloodstream of a human being. Somewhere close by there might be some sort of signal which caused that being to start living. Oh, a signal. Oh, you mean like a frequency signal from, say, a cell tower? Like a 5G signal? Somewhere close by there might be some sort of signal which caused That being to start living. Just as pine cone seeds don't grow unless they are